One side, one side. Most people really like it. Why do you think they might like it? Why do you think you like it when it's one side, one side, one side, one side? So it's a way of keeping both sides in your image. Yeah. Why else might you like it? The comparison. So you can absolutely use what you've learnt on one side or what you've noticed on one side to help you transfer it to the other side. Yep. That was it. Why might you not like it?
Frustration of one side working, the other side not working. Being able to do it one side and not the other side.
But what is it that one side? No, just all on one side. But in a sensorial term, so we're not thinking logically here. It's usually a sensory thing that people don't like. Why you would rather do it one side, other side, one side, other side. All on one side. Yeah, it's usually that comparison that people find a little bit disconcerting. So this is someone who really likes doing it on one side. Okay, on your backs. Sorry. Bend your knees. And first of all, find a really comfortable, easy way to lift your left leg above your chest. Just a really comfortable, easy way. And remember, you have to have at least 3 different options to be able to choose. So could you find 3 different ways maybe that your pelvis could move into? Bring your leg above your chest. And how do you know that it's comfortable? This is the question that we're constantly asking our clients. How are they determining that in their sensation? And then interlace your fingers and place them behind your left knee. So you'll be in the crease at the back of your knee. And have your thumb with your fingers. And just feel for a start that difference. What's the difference if my thumb is around, it's more outside my knee, or if my thumb is inside. And we've explored this a little bit before and feel what's the difference in the mobility of your wrist. When your thumbs are interlaced as well as your fingers, or if the fingers are all interlaced but your thumb isn't. Can you feel there's anything different in your wrist? In the movement available in your wrist? In your elbows? So keeping your thumb interlaced with your fingers, so behind your knee, so in the crease of your knee. And very, very slowly begin to move your left leg in a way that you're going to straighten your knee a little bit, and your leg is going to push away from you a little bit as you do it. So your knee will straighten, your thigh will push away from you a little bit, and your foot will flex. And really gently and slowly, and feel how can that movement go through you. So that you really feel, so your foot won't be so much going to the ceiling. It is straightening, but your leg is going a little bit away from you. So can you begin to soften your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, your upper ribs, your sternum, your neck, your jaw, your throat, so that the left thigh moving away from you as your knee begins to straighten and your foot begins to flex. Allow something to soften in your upper torso so that your arms are sort of just pulled along a little bit. And the power, see if you can feel that the power for this will be coming from your left hip joint. So what would your head do in response to this? Can you feel your chin starts to go away from you a little bit? Both your right leg is bent and standing. And if you feel that your head wants to lift, don't lift it. Find something else that can soften. Something else that could respond so that your head doesn't have to lift. Maybe something else that can soften in your ribs, in your belly, in your back. So you can begin to feel this tilt of your head back. Sternum going down a little bit. Where do your shoulder blades go? Your shoulders lift a little bit. And there's no effort in your arms. So your three actions that you're doing is your leg, your thigh reaches away, your knee straightens, and your foot flexes. And we're really just using this as a way to feel the softness, feel what can release even more, what can soften even more in your upper chest, in your torso. And notice, do you keep always taking your leg in the same trajectory? So what would happen if you maybe started exploring taking your leg in slightly different trajectories as you did this movement? So maybe it might go just a little to the left or a little bit to the right, and really feel, does that influence how the movement goes through your torso? What's asked in your torso? So again, we're really exploring how your leg can get long, not by pushing it straight, but by softening something. And how does the base of your neck respond to that? And getting a sense it's your hip joint, your left hip joint, pushing away, extending a little bit. That's the power for this movement. It's very easy to do it all from the knee. What can happen in your hip that then allows your knee to lengthen, your foot to flex? Does your head go in a slightly different trajectory depending on where your leg goes? Does your pelvis go in a slightly different trajectory depending on where your hip goes? And let your leg down. And see what that's done. Bend your knees again, and again take your left leg to your chest. This time, place only your left hand behind your left knee. And start to explore the same idea. So your thumbs with your fingers. Just feel, where would your leg want to go when your left hand's behind your knees? The particular trajectory. And again, you'll only find if there's a particular trajectory if you just go slowly and feel your way. And again, 3 things. Your thigh pushes away, your knee straightens, and your foot flexes. So you're really finding how do all three of these go together. My knees straightening, my hip extending, and my foot flexing. And as you're doing it, keep spreading your image. What happens in your other elbow, your other knee, your other foot? Are they part of your image? What shapes are you making in your middle? Because what did you learn in that first lesson this morning about what helps your leg to get longer? So we're looking for less and less effort in your arms, in your shoulders, that they become much more responsive to the movement rather than the power. So could you now deliberately begin to take your leg more to the left as you do that? So as it's reaching away, your knees straightening and your foot's flexing, but maybe you could find a way to begin to bring your left elbow toward the floor. And feel, what does your head do? Where are your ribs going? Because your left hand and your left knee are connected to each other, how does that influence what's happening in your torso? Is one side getting shorter or longer? And have a rest again. Really notice the sensations in your left and right side and your connection with the floor. And bend your knees again. Left knee again to your chest, this time with your right hand behind your left knee. So both legs are bent. Yep. And you're going to explore the same thing, same movement, but now with your right hand behind your knee. So how does that pull through you? How do the different trajectories? You take your leg in. And really feel it's your thigh pushing, your knees straightening, and your foot flexing. and feel which of those do you forget about. Is it your knee straightening, or is it your foot flexing, or your hip extending? Which one tends to get left out of your image? And you're always looking to see, is there something else that can soften, that can give in my torso, in my image of what this movement is? And then again, think more of taking your left leg over towards your left with your right hand behind it. Again, feel, where does your chin go? Still got the right hand behind, but thinking again of taking your left leg more to the left again. What does your chin do? How does your shoulders and your torso, your head and your neck get pulled along for the ride? How do they give to this movement? Okay, just for a moment now, again, put both hands interlaced behind the back of your left knee. Straighten it a little bit more and just see, is that a little bit easier to straighten at the moment? So you've got a fairly straight leg now with your foot flexed. And now gently again begin to push your thigh away into your knees with this long straight leg. And just see how that pulls through you. So you're not so much having to straighten your knee more or flex your foot more. You've sort of got it where it's comfortable and long, and then you're simply extending your hip. You're simply thinking of your thigh reaching away from you. Some of you have got hips in very interesting places. Okay, have a pause for a moment. Silvana, do you mind if we use you as a demo? Okay, back you go into position. If you can see from here. So you can see for Silvana to have her leg here, she's already got a pelvis a fair amount coming off the ground. Yeah. So as she goes to now push a thigh away, can you see she's really doing it, most of it from her knee? Yeah. So where is, and this is difficult because she wants to keep shortening in her belly. Can you feel that? Now soften that. Soften, soften the belly, soften the belly, soften the belly. Yeah. So there. Feel the difference? Because think, if my hips extend extending, the weight should be rolling down on the pelvis. Does that make sense? It shouldn't be rolling up. No? There she goes. Can you feel your hips in a different place now? Yeah. It's light. Okay, have another go. Okay, so now really gently find a partner, and we're all going to help each other with this a little bit because this is going to be a pretty fundamental movement to where we're going in the next few days. So have a partner. One of you is going to stay lying and just have a look at them doing the movement. So the first thing is for them to get into a position where their leg can be fairly straight. That was the first. So have they managed to feel that something has to change in the middle of them even to get their legs straight? And this is where it gets really difficult for people who are really flexible, because they can just get their leg into position and nothing needs to change. So this is actually easier for people who aren't as flexible to feel. So how are you going to help her, Ella, to feel that the movement could come more from her hip and less from her knee? Yeah, by touching. So that somehow can you give them a sense? Just have a go, doesn't matter. That they could begin to feel that the movement's coming more from their hip and less from their knee. And you'll usually have to get in there right at the beginning of the movement to give them a hand, right from the initiation. It's good to hear you laughing, really. Okay. So let me clarify it for you a little bit more. It's sort of like the blind leading the blind in some cases here. We've got this, do you know the Bruegel blind leading the blind? Well, Graham, my partner's done a whole whole copy of it. And I'm just amazed at how many of the little kids who come to see me go, what are they doing? as they're all falling in the water. And okay, so let's think about it. So I'm lying on my back, and I'm here, and if I'm doing that to straighten my leg, I'm lifting my pelvis to straighten my leg, which is what lots of you are doing, then I can't extend my hip. So that's why this movement is the leg going away, which rocks the weight down onto the pelvis. Because then my hip can extend. So it's all at the very beginning of the movement in how you're sending your foot away, your leg away from you. Yeah? Does that? Yeah? That's it. Can you see the difference? No? Now do it what you were doing before. Yeah, and she's lifting her pelvis. Huh? She's not actually getting her thigh pushing away from her. There she goes. And can you feel what's different then in your upper chest? Yeah, you can't get it long anymore. So try it in another trajectory out to the left now. Does that help? What happened? Okay. So do it yourselves again. So again, is this helpful if I keep breaking it up like this to, yeah? There you go. And so this is where in an ATM lesson you've given as many clues as you can. So this ability to take the hip away and the back gets longer. Yeah? The pelvis isn't lifting. It would depend on what the workshop was. If it was just a one-off ATM class, you can get away doing this ATM without really understanding this. But because I know where we're going, absolutely. Yeah. Or I might get them to look at a few people and try a few different ways. So I could have also gone, what happens if you lift your pelvis when you first go to straighten your leg, and what happens if the weight rolls down as you straighten your leg? Yeah. Okay, so now go back to leaving, which leg, which arm? Your left hand behind your left knee. So your left hand's behind your left knee. Just take it out to the left again and see, does that feel any different after doing those movements? Great. So now your right hand behind your knee again. This time, could you take your left hand and put it up at the base of your skull, just in that sort of hole at the back where you can feel between the muscles right at the base of your skull. And this time, as you begin to straighten your left leg, could you very gently lift that area a little bit up in the air, which should help you to really let you, no. Lift it up, wait for my instruction, to let your chin lift backward, lift. Yeah, and your head to drop back. Mhm. So your hand is very gently, but you're taking your leg to the left. Your left leg is going over to the left. Your left leg's going over to the left, and you're really allowing the front of your throat to open, your chin to go back, your jaw to be soft. So probably for most of us, your mouth will open a little bit. To find this freedom in your neck. So your head doesn't lift off the floor. But there's a particular point where your chin goes away that maybe it begins to, as it's extended, that your head begins to turn to the left as well in this very extended position of your neck. Your hips still reaching away. Your legs straightening out to the left. And you have to continue, the word Feldenkrais uses, which is gorgeous, is yield. You have to continue to yield. And then change hands and try the same thing. Still going to the left. So now your right hand's behind your head, up in that very upper cervical spine, helping. And you'll feel as your chin goes back, you'll feel your palate, your hard palate at the roof of your mouth tips back, back, back. And then as you bring your leg back, your chin comes down again. And so your head's extending, and then there's a particular timing as your leg goes out to the left where your head will turn to the left. And your head will still be extended. And your left elbow is going more and more away from you, out to the left as well. Your left elbow is reaching out to the left. Further and further away from your torso. Can your left elbow reach out with a bent elbow? What would that do if you reached out with a left bent elbow and then your arms straightened? So your head keeps getting pulled along for the ride. Your head keeps getting pulled and pulled and pulled. Until maybe there's a moment where your head wants to keep getting pulled in the direction of your knee. And you could come up to sitting. Your head staying low to the ground. And there's something here about your chin. So really notice as you start to come around, do you pull your chin down, or is it possible that until the moment your head lifts, your chin could still be leading? Your chin could be leading. Your chin could be leading. And then it's the same when you're going down. Could your chin lead first to go down? Could you take your chin forward? So how is it that your chin moving forward, your neck extending, helps you to round and soften in your back so that you come up into a hurdling position, so that your left leg will be straight and your right leg will be bent as if you're going over a hurdle. So come up again, Silvana. Come up, come up, come up. And see how when you went down, you immediately tucked your chin in? So take your chin forward, take your chin forward, take your chin out, forward, forward. Stick it out. And now come down and forward. Yeah? Feel the difference? So what happens if you can, what's this relationship got to do with your low back being able to be soft? So your head really go, that's it, Shana, yeah? So there's something about this that we've been doing about lengthening your lower back, lengthening, giving your belly a softness that's helped by this extension of your neck, your jaw being free. Yay. Yeah. Now, see there? You just tucked your chin in a little bit. Did you feel? Yeah. So just keep going forward, but keep your chin going forward. There. Feel the difference? Yeah? And you'll see where we're going. This ability, because most of us, when we get, and you'll see where we're going with this, why this is going to be really important. This is what we do when we get anxious. It's tightness in our throat. So it's really, I find it fascinating how he builds up to where we're heading to really find this ability to be soft in our throat, long. Okay, what about now if you held it with both hands? And again, just thought of rolling over to the left, your hips leading it, reaching, reaching, reaching. It's your elbow. What? Let it reach away from you. You're just rolling over it. Okay. Just think of your hip a little bit more because you're still rounding a little bit in your, yeah. So lead with your hip. The hip extending. That's it. You're going down onto your pelvis. There you go. Yeah. Because again, if we've got a real tendency to extend our, this is really asking for something different. It's asking to extend our hip with a long back. so that you're going to come up over your hip joint. You're actually going to come up over your hip joint. Okay, have a rest. There'll be a few more approximations of this. So how does it feel after a one-sided lesson? And again, we say a one-sided lesson, but every part of you was involved in that lesson. So come up to standing. Just for a moment. And just see what's happened after doing that. How do your hips feel? So if you came, just do this really gently. We'll be exploring this a bit in the days to come. If you came onto, so we've been straightening the left leg. Yeah? If you came onto your left leg to take a step, go slow, what does your left hip do? Does it extend or flex? If you came onto your left leg to take a step with your right leg, what does your left hip joint do? Does it extend or flex? So he does this long diatribe, which I haven't included on here, about runners and how important this is for running. Yeah. And then go to your other leg and see, do you do something different with your hip on that side? So what's the difference if you come onto your leg and your leg extends? It's amazing. No. You're going to lie down and imagine it. Only if you want to, though. Do you know what I mean? If you really feel that you'd like to leave it like this to feel the difference, feel free and just go for a walk. But for those who don't, have a lie down. And again, remember all those ways of imagining we did last segment. So if you're going to imagine it, again, go back to that same side first. So with both hands behind your left leg. And just feel that you know where you're going. You're thinking you're going out to the left. So you've got the orientation really clear of where you're going and what you're going to do. Remember, one of the things we did was right from the beginning of the movement, everything's in your image. And you don't have to think of it so much moving through space, but just that right from the beginning, your knee knows where it's going, your ankle knows where it's going, your toes know where they're going, your wrists know, your other hip knows, your knee knows, your right knee, your right foot, your right shoulder, your ribs, your chin and your neck. So just scan through and just really find which are the parts of me that right from the beginning know where they're going, that I've got them in my image. And then when you've got as complete an idea of that as you can, as you scan through, go to the other side. But we're really looking at that very This is called power. So you're just really imagining. So we're actually not going to get you to do the movement to the right. You're simply going to imagine from the beginning that every part. So you know where you're going to end up. You know that you'll end up oriented to the right with your right leg straight and your left leg bent. Your shoulder blades, your ribs, your spine, your pelvis, everything's in the image. Okay, up you come to standing again. So what is it about this ability that I come on to my leg and my hip extends and my pelvis moves forward? Can you see why this might have something to do with running? Rather than I come onto my leg and my hip flexes a little bit and I step forward. Both really valid ways of doing things. But we've been more working in this particular lesson with how do I find those big, powerful hip extensors. Okay. Have fun walking wherever you're walking to. We'll see you again in the morning.